But in your type of business, I don't know how it is, save, find a way of a little bit back. Because I'll tell you what, I did do that.
Good morning from American Freedom Energy and Grandma's Store and Liberty Center. Rise and Rewind, sponsored by Norm Zider and the crew at Swanton Welding this morning. Thank you to Norm, our good friend, for sponsoring our show. We had to get rid of some of the coffee club here as we were trying to prepare to come on the air, but I think we're all set now, Coach.
Yeah, Spike, I mean, he's relentless. I mean, we're on the edge of getting ready to roll here, and those Spiker wanted to get a few more words in. He's heading up to watch film. He said he's
watching film?
He's watching film with the coaches, and he claims that as long as he doesn't, in his words, not mine, act like the village idiot, they let him sit there and watch film.
Do you think he can sit there and not chime in? What are the odds?
Yes.
You think he can?
Yes, I do. And I think he knows his place when he's in that crowd. But
we gotta teach him that here at Rise and Rewind. How do we do that?
He's off the leash when he's around here, you know. But
maybe we have to be a little more
assertive,
put a little more fear into him.
Yeah.
You think he's scared of some of those LC coaches?
Yes, I do. Like Nick Miller, you think Nick wouldn't pound him into submission?
And they could take care of him real quick.
But they wouldn't. They wouldn't do that. Spike's a local treasure. How about these new mugs I walked into this morning?
Yeah. Got you a new mug, Coach, for your coffee on Saturday mornings. I thought that was the least I could do since you get up early and join me on Saturday mornings.
Lynn, the heck of it is, I'm never late. I pride myself on that. Takes no talent to be on time. But I cut it close this morning. I got up at about 6:15 to just read through last night's stuff, read your recaps that you put together and that. And I get lost in those, and I look at the clock, and it's like 8:20, and I hadn't showered or gotten around yet. Holy smoke. I thought if I was sitting here and I look at my watch and it's 8:55, I'd be in trouble. Would you have waited for me?
I would have waited for you. You're the star of the show, so we would have had to have. Couldn't do it without you.
I
tried that
it.
once, but it wasn't as good. And thank you to all of our viewers. Boy, we had a great viewership a week ago as we went to our YouTube live channel, and tripled our viewership from what we usually do.
Yeah, that's
a year ago.
That's exciting. And when we started on this Saturday morning adventure, we wanted to. I've said many times, I remember going to trade film as a coach, and I would always turn on at that time, being down at Leipsic, would be Vince Koza, on a Saturday morning show. And man, didn't even have to open a paper. You could just get the recaps from Friday night and get a little opinion, a little humor with Vince Koza. And we have lost that. And that was kind of the genesis, as you would say, of Rise and Rewind. So we hope we give people something to look forward to.
Absolutely. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. Jay Brown's already up early, and so is Chip Halbert. They're both tuned in this morning. If you have a question for us, get on the chat there and let us know. We'll try to answer it to the best of our abilities. If you have a question for us from last night or going forward or from even way back from the past, we'll talk about anything on our Saturday morning show. I'm fired up. I got up at 7 a.m., went to bed about 2, got the recaps done, went to bed at 2, got up at 7 because my wife got us a brisket for today. I put that on the smoker at 7 a.m. That baby is smoking right now, and it'll be ready at dinner time.
Okay, this could go sideways because I love talking about this stuff. Was it preseason? Did you already season it?
I got home last night when we got back from Columbus Grove. I put some seasoning on it and wrapped it up in some butcher's paper, put it back in the fridge. Bunch of seasonings.
Let it rest overnight.
Let that marinate a little bit, all those seasonings, and put it on the smoker at about 8 this morning.
Electric, propane, charcoal.
It's electric smoker. Electric, yes.
Yeah, the nice thing about that, you can do that. You
set
can
it and forget it. Put it at, I got it at 200 as I'm not going to be there for a few hours. Just wanted to kind of smoke a little bit to begin with, and then when I get home, I'll crank it up to 225, 250 probably.
The thing with brisket, as you know, and our barbecue listeners know, you have that stall.
Yep.
And the novice smoker gets a little impatient, maybe, panics and does some things out of the ordinary. But, you can there's things you can do to get through the stall. But if you don't understand how a brisket works, you can be really confused when you're stuck at 165 for 3 hours, you know?
Yep. I wrap it in butcher's paper or foil and get it cranking again. It's the
I
only
love
way
it.
to do it.
I love it. When you planning on taking it off and slicing
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Because I'm starting a little low to begin with. It may be, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there.
Oh, man. Now
College
you got
football,
my wheels turning.
College football kicks off today. Great day. Gonna set a couple TVs outside. I actually put an outdoor TV in this summer and gonna set a couple more out there. It's a beautiful kind of fall day. It's late August, but it feels like fall, right?
Yeah, it does. And last night at Clymer Stadium, what we see out in the
Bonfires
and
the neighboring properties.
Yeah. So it's that time of year. It's fantastic. Got some flies out here. You know, there was a tailgate.
Yes.
We got some trash over here. We got some flies. So if you see us swatting around,
that is why. I'm sure there was a huge crowd out here
yeah.
for the opener of Liberty Center season at Rex Lindgren Stadium. Jay Brown wants to know, did I see a food trailer on the Facebook feed from last night? Yes, you did. And that food truck was right here at American Freedom Energy, a great sponsor of ours. I shared that. My wife actually came over here because she loves the Toledo Chuck Wagons grilled cheese, and she's got me a smash burger, and I'm going to have that for my lunch when I get home for the Buckeyes and Longhorns when they kick off at noon.
You have your food day planned, man.
Oh, I always plan my food, buddy. I'm going to put some jalapeno poppers on the smoker too. Got some jalapenos in the garden. Going to stuff those with some cream cheese and other stuff and put those on the smoker as well.
Now, will Sarah get any of that, or is that your feast?
Unfortunately, yes, she will. I won't get as much as I want because of that. And our yellow lab.
Yeah.
He'll take care of quite a bit himself as well.
Oh, that's good.
Week 2, coach. You look back on it and the scores. Any scores pop out at you from a night ago? And Thursday there was some Northern 8 action, 8-man games.
Yep. One that jumps out off the top of my head that I've been thinking about is the Bryan Bowling Green.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tickled for Coach Staten at Bryan. You know, he's working his tail off trying to get them going. And so a big road win. I believe they were at Bowling Green. So that's a big win for them. Defiance for the second week in a row.
Yeah. Ooh.
Staved off a 2-point try.
Steve Rittenauer may be rethinking taking over as head coach. That's got to be taking some time off of his days.
Yeah, he's living in dog years right now. I mean, doggone.
Yeah.
One of those takes its toll on you, let alone two. And then, Lynn, when I went to bed last night, I had just assumed, and you know what happens when you assume, that Central Catholic had beaten Cass Tech. Yeah. I didn't even look at that final. I just assumed, and I got up just to see what it ended up, and I read your recap, and holy cow.
Technicians rallied to knock off Central Catholic, and Central Catholic has to go as Detroit Central Catholic. Yeah. Catholic Central coming to their place on Friday night. That could be a 0-3 start for the Irish real quick.
Oh, man. And another one that kind of opened my eyes a little bit is Joe Horn at St. John's closing the gap. On Anthony Wayne, and that's significant. And then the one we had last night, I don't want to overstate it and be a prisoner of the moment, but Liberty-Benton is good.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We'll get into that one and all the other recaps from a night ago. Doom Walker asking Edgerton and Hilltop playing tonight instead of last night. That is because there was a issue with scheduling officials for this season. They did not have officials for games, so they had to move several of them to Saturdays this season. There's some, I think there may be some Thursday TAC games. This is related to TAC schools. That was the issue. There was some problems with the scheduling and could not find officials because they didn't schedule, and then it was too late. Have to move it to Saturdays.
And that's not the only one tonight, am I right?
No. There is a couple more actually. Antwerp is at Eden tonight, another TAC due to the scheduling conflicts there, and then Macomb is at Toledo Christian, and LCC plays at Delphus Jefferson. Now those were regularly scheduled. Toledo Christian plays most of their home games at Bowser, not having a home field, and then Delphus St. John's as well, sharing there in Delphus.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. I think we knew, people that had kept an eye on things knew that, some officiating numbers issues could be on the horizon, and here we are.
Yeah, now that wasn't because of that. It was just they did not schedule them. I'm not going to get into the reasons why, but that just was not scheduled, and that is the reason why we have some Saturday games in the TAC this season. I think there's some Thursday as well throughout the year.
Very good.
Going back to Thursday, Holgate 40-14 over Camden Frontier out of Michigan. The Tigers stormed back from a 14-6 deficit and moved to 2-0 under Adam Byram. Wyland Staulicker had 2 rushing scores and 149 yards on the ground to pace the Tigers. Mateo Gomez added 153 yards and 3 touchdowns on 10 of 17 passing. Owen Resendos, Santos Pacina, and Colton Wilhelm had touchdowns receiving as the Tigers move to 2-0 on the young season. Adam Byram keeping it rolling so far for the Henry County 8-man program. We'll see if they can keep it rolling as the season progresses, but off to a nice start against a little bit lesser competition here the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think their schedule sets up favorably, but congrats to Coach Byram. And what I am hoping at Holgate is a little bit of success this year.
Yeah. The roster's not where it needs to be. They're short on numbers.
Yep.
Hopefully that grows for them as we move on.
Yep. I absolutely hope so. But congrats to the Holgate Tigers.
Stryker went up to North Adams, Michigan on Thursday night and picked up a 36-28 win over the Rams. Jamison Grimm captured his first victory as Stryker's new mentor. Panthers scored 28 points in the second half after trailing 14-8 at the break. Stryker now 1-1, ran for 314 yards on 47 attempts and added 80 yards rushing. Noah Dotson turned out 129 yards rushing and 3 scores on 13 attempts, while Nate Ryan chipped in 120 yards on 18 totes. Cody Stewart completed 5 passes for 80 yards, including 4 tosses to Nate Reynolds, who had 69 yards and a TD. The Rams had 109 yards rushing and 156 passing, but Stryker picks up the 36-28 victory over North Adams Jerome to move to 1-1 on the young season.
Yeah, that's just what the doctor ordered for the Panthers. They needed something to feel good about here early in the season. Big second half. We'll see if they can keep that rolling next half. So, or next week. So congratulations to Coach Graham.
Yeah, had a coaching victory in his days at Delta, spent 1 year with the Panthers, and now is coaching the 8-man program at Stryker. Let's move it to Friday, Coach. A game you just mentioned, Cass Tech 28, Central Catholic 27. Central Catholic let a 13-point lead slip away and missed a 45-yard field goal as Cass Tech avenged a Prep Bowl loss to the Irish 2 years ago at Ford Field in Detroit. 4-star technician quarterback Donald Tabrone II, ranked as one of the top quarterbacks in the class of 2028, threw for 219 yards and 3 touchdowns. It sounded like Central had some more uncharacteristic mistakes of a Greg Dempsey team and coughed up a 13-point lead and fell 28-27 to another good team. The defending Division I state champions up in the Wolverine State is Cass Tech, but Central Catholic 0-2 to start the season, and another tough one in the Catholic High School League to open up that league next week.
Yeah, and you know, you tip your cap to Central Catholic for, you know, building the schedule they've built. And the thing about Cass Tech is they're not, like I say about Liberty Center sometimes, you know, when the bus rolls in, they have a 21-point lead because of their reputation. It's like that for Central Catholic against a lot of schools, but not Cass Tech.
Right.
You know, the number of college and professional athletes they've turned out.
There were some big-time athletes on the field in that matchup. That was actually played at Wayne State last night.
Yep.
Amazon Prep Classic or something like that. But Central will have their work cut out for them as they get into Catholic High School League action against Detroit Catholic Central. That game is at Gallagher Stadium next Friday night. If you want to see a good one, that will be a good one. You know that Greg Dempsey and his staff will be correcting the mistakes they made here the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, and when you're playing the level of competition they are, your margin for error is super slim.
Right.
Now, Central Catholic traditionally can get away with a lot against some of their opponents, and especially past opponents. Now in the Catholic High School League, and then when you're out of conference against the Cass Tech, you're going to get exposed. And then you can do everything right fundamentally and discipline-wise and things like that, but players make plays, and sometimes you get out athleted, and Cass Tech's the team that can do that to you.
Any reason to worry if you're Central Catholic 0-2? Next week is, probably a coin toss game. Can you go 0-3 and still be where you want to be in week 14, 15, 16? I know the answer, but.
Well, my short answer is yes. And I think they're going through some growing pains. Even though they have a star-studded roster, there's always new faces that Coach Dempsey's plugging in, and some of those kids may be new. Totally new to the program, and so there's a little bit of chemistry building and things going on, but Greg Dempsey will get them where they need to be. I think the answer to your question is yes.
Yeah, there'll be a player in the Division III playoffs. You think you want to play Central Catholic after these first 3 weeks and what they've seen?
No, not if you know what we know.
Oh, my goodness. Ooh. Anthony Wayne, 28-24 over St. John's Jesuit. That was at Schaller Stadium in White House last night. Generals trimmed the rival Titans with 321 yards, including 223 passing. Porter Brungard, Andy Brungard's son, sophomore quarterback, completed 26 of 33 passes and 2 scores in that matchup. Jathan Voles made 10 grabs for 74 yards. Roman Morrison chipped in 95 yards rushing and 1 score. Coy Hammock carried 25 times for 103 yards and 2 scores for the Titans, but maybe tells you a little bit something about Joe Horn. He's rebuilding that St. John's program, putting some life into it. But Anthony Wayne picks up the win. They had a tough road game a week ago, but get the win last night to move to 1-1, and St. John's falls to 1-1 in the early season.
Yeah, just a handful of thoughts on that one, Lynn. Anthony Wayne has some youth. They graduated some superstars last year, so that was beneficial to St. John's. I think we also learn. I think people sometimes underestimate what a new coach that just brings enthusiasm. I'm not even talking X's and O's, scheme, any of that stuff. I'm talking just what I call a powerful presence. So Joe Horn is the type of guy, because of his personality, like Josh Linkey at St. Francis, that just makes kids feel good about themselves. And even if you don't improve as far as your scoring average and turnovers and penalties and things like that, if guys just feel good about being part of the program and being there every day, and they play hard for you, that's worth its weight in gold. That's going to get you a couple wins. And I think that's what Joe Horn's done. And then, because if you know him, he's just a gentleman. And I think they're going to continue to build. Last thing I want to say is Porter Brungard. We talked about
he's getting a lot of looks already before he even took a varsity snap, really.
He is. And I'll tell you.
Have you seen him play or any film?
Not play, highlights. And I talked to his father, Andy Brungard, this summer, and I point blank asked him, and I hope Andy won't mind me saying this, but I was at Anthony Wayne this summer. One of my former players, Zach Rosebrook, is on staff there.
Yeah.
And so I stopped in to see Andy and asked him about Porter. And I said, Andy, he has not taken a varsity snap, but yet he's getting these offers. What's the deal? And he said, the schools up there, Anthony Wayne, Perrysburg, and those guys have these showcases for their teams.
They do. Yep.
And he said all Porter was doing was warming up, just playing catch with a teammate. And pretty soon, one division coach is kind of watching him, just, kind of watching his mechanics and how he snaps the ball. And then next thing you know, another coach walks over. And next thing you know, there's like 5 or 6 Division I coaches gathered around with their notepads out or phones nowadays. And that's how it blew up. Just watching him warm up.
Wow. I did not know that.
It's a true story. And Andy will verify that. And so I saw a highlight last night where he was under a little bit of duress, kind of rolling to his right, threw it back to his left. And he's got that. Quarterbacks now, when it's weird, and I talked to Andy Brungard about this, quarterbacks now do things that kind of go against the traditional way of teaching quarterbacks. You used to teach them, have your front shoulder closed, your elbow shoulder pointing at your target, get the nose of the ball back up here and all these mechanical things. Now you watch these younger quarterbacks, and Caleb Moyer's one, Landon Eckelberry's one. Mason Heinschel's a poster child for this. Connor Bazelak.
Now at Pitt.
Connor Bazelak, BG's quarterback last year. Now, if you look at them, when they're getting ready to throw, their hips are wide open. It's not this. It's hips are wide open. They kind of fling it from a funky arm slot. And you're like, but all the great ones are doing it now. And I talked to Andy Brungard about that because Porter has worked with some really good, quarterback people. And it's just evolved. The position has. And now these college coaches look at a young kid who's never played varsity football. He's a sophomore. Hey, we need to offer him just based on a couple warm-up throws.
Interesting. Anthony Wayne has a chance to reel off some victories. They're going to be favorites here the next 3 weeks at Napoleon, home with Lima Senior, home with Bowling Green, and then they get into NLL Buckeye division play, Whitmer, Clay, Northview, Perrysburg, Findlay to round out the season. But Anthony Wayne will be a prohibitive favorite here the next 3 weeks. And looks like they're going to have a chance to be in that Buckeye division mix again. They won it a year ago outright, shared it the first year.
I wish that, some of these programs that are struggling to build, and there's reasons programs struggle. It could be numbers, could be talent, could be administrative support, stuff like that. But a young coach that's trying to build a program, trying to turn the corner, trying to see the right way to do things, I would implore upon them to hang around Andy Brungard. Now, he's one of several I could name, but since we're talking about Anthony Wayne, the command he has of his program, he is so intentional about the staff he puts together. There's a lot of high school coaches, because it's hard to find not only coaches, but good coaches that if you have a little bit of a football background and it works with your schedule, you can be on my coaching staff because I need a fourth assistant. Andy Brungard will not hire just anybody. I mean, he has a stringent interview process. I mean, he's checking references. He will not let anyone infiltrate his program who is not going to be in total alignment with Anthony Wayne's way of doing things. I'm telling you, it's a cut above 97% of all coaches in this area. There's some at that level, but 97% of them fall short of how Andy Brungard operates. And I'll stand by that.
Results speak for that. St. John's, on the other hand, their schedule is on the other side of things. Orchard Lake, St. Mary's coming to Airport Highway next week. Then they go to River Rouge, at St. Francis de Sales, home with Brother Rice, home with Toledo Central Catholic, at Detroit Catholic Central, Warren de La Salle, and then finish up the season at the University of Detroit Jesuit. Look at that schedule and say there's a lot of wins that I would give the Titans, but it's an improved team. Let's see what they can do. They were 1-9 a season ago.
I'm going to give you.
They did beat U of D Jesuit a year ago, 42-0, and their some of their other games in the CHSL were not so close. River Rouge was 12-6, loss in overtime. They did hang around with St. Francis 44-30 a season ago, but an uphill climb in that schedule for Joe Horn. Got to keep them together.
You got to keep them together, and he's a guy that can do that. Lynn, is there 4 wins? Can they get to 4 or 5?
I think they can get to around that area.
Okay.
They're going to have to play well.
Yeah.
They can't go out there and make a lot of mistakes in these games. There's not a lot of wiggle room, I would say, for them.
I would agree with you.
Yeah, but excited to see what Anthony Wayne and St. John's can do the rest of the season. Clay 14-0 over Southview last night. Derek Pennington earned his first win at Clay after a successful career up in the Wolverine State, behind 89 yards rushing from Bryce Bestgrove and 67 yards rushing from sophomore quarterback Landon Eckelberry, who also fired a touchdown pass to Carter Wallensack. Both teams moved to 1-1 on the season. Southview, not much offense, but holding that Clay team to 14 points is pretty big, I would say.
So
after seeing them in action, they're a pretty potent offense and some of the weapons that they have.
Yes, and one of the things I should have mentioned this at the outset, but when I was reading through your recaps before I came in this morning, this one jumped out to me because what we saw last week out of Clay against a really good opponent in Wapakoneta, I thought, man, oh man, the next few weeks Clay might average 35 to 42 points, and I mean that. This, I think tells you Southview may be a contender in the Cardinal. And I know it's just one game, but this is saying something. If you see Eckleberry and some of the guys we talked about, and they're well coached, their scheme is going to be very tough to defend. I think this tells us something about Southview. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with that. Bryan 32-14 over Bowling Green on the road last night. The Golden Bears pulled away from the Bobcats with a 14-0 edge in the second half. Jake Arnold connected on 3 touchdown tosses in that one. The Golden Bears actually trailed 14-3 late in the first half. And Arnold, the Hunter Watson pass and a pick six 21 seconds later gave Bryan the lead for good, and they added 14 in the second half and pick up a win for Scott Staten.
Well, congrats to Coach Staten. He's going to build that program the right way. He's going to build it with strength and conditioning and fundamentals and things like that. You know, he's going to have to play a lot of young kids throughout that process of building, and you hope you don't throw too many young kids into the fire too soon. And but if things work out the way they should, they're going to be just fine. It's going to be tough sledding for the Bobcats and Coach Kiss. He's got a lot of youth.
Yeah.
They graduated some guys, but they have Clay this week, and so you have Bryan sandwiched in between Perrysburg and Clay, and you think that's one we've got to get, and that's going to be tough sledding. They do have 1 week 4 they can get Northview, but that's going to be tougher because Northview is going to see that and say that's one we can get, and they're going to have them buckle up a little tighter. And there's a couple on there that Bowling Green has a chance, but again, Springfield is one of the stories of this very early season.
Oh, boy, are they? Yeah. Napoleon 21-14 over Maumee. 254-yard rushing night helped the Cats garner a 1-score win over the Panthers. Hayden Groll led the ground attack with 165 yards and 2 touchdowns on 30 attempts. Kelby Parsons had 91 yards on 11 quarterback keepers. Paul Saucer caught a 52-yard touchdown from Parsons for the other touchdown by Napoleon. Cohen Jones tallied both touchdowns by Maumee, who is now 0-2 on the young season. Boy, Maumee 8-3 a season ago. Big turnaround, and now they're right off to an 0-2 start. Nice win. A game that Napoleon really kind of had to have after the loss to Defiance in week number 1. Oh,
Napoleon absolutely had to have that, Lynn, especially with Anthony Wayne and Clay lurking.
Oh, yeah, they got a couple toughies the next couple weeks.
They do, and then they have Northview, who they should get, but then you have Southview and Springfield. And so
isn't the Springfield of old?
No, it's not. And folks, if you're saying that's too early to tell, they haven't been very good the last couple years. I'm telling you, they're different. What I like out of Napoleon here, Lynn, is they didn't try to get cute. Okay, I think they only attempted 6 passes. I think Parsons was 4 out of 6.
I can tell you here real quick.
Maybe if I looked at the stats Coach Karchner sent us, and I'd love it if you could make it official, but I think 4 out of 6 or something in that game. And what I really like about it is Napoleon kept it on the ground.
Oh, my phone doesn't seem to want to work here real good for me, Coach.
Gotcha. I know it was minimal, and the bulk of the passing yards came on the pass from Parsons to Saucer, which I saw the highlight of that. He just got behind the defense. It looked like kind of a skinny post, and Kelby Parsons put it right on the money. Now
4 of 6 was Napoleon passing.
Okay. And how many total yards? You actually have that in the article, I think.
Passing yards
91.
74.
Okay.
225 rushing according to the Maumee stats.
Okay.
I think I used the Napoleon stats for the recap.
Gotcha. Love it. Love it. George Eggers, again, second week in a row he didn't play, but Hayden Groll, I'm telling you, and when George gets back, if Napoleon doesn't have Eggers and Groll in the backfield together, I'm not talking one spelling the other. Now, I know formation wise and stuff, they like to use an H back and have a single back most of the time. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But if Hayden Groll is, I won't even say in the same backfield, if he's not on the field with George Eggers most of the time, I would question that, because now you've got a two-headed monster, and we've already seen early in the season a three-headed monster with Kelby Parsons.
Mm-hmm.
He can run it. Now, that cat's out of the bag. I think going in, Parsons was an unknown kind of quantity.
Yes.
But now he's not. So you're going to be a little more honed in on quarterback runs and things like that. But I hope George Eggers gets back soon. Those types of injuries can just linger. But Hayden Groll has shown he's very capable.
Yes. Jay Brown says Clay may have their hands full if Eggers is healthy next week. Hayden Groll was a beast last night for the Wildcats, reminding me of Jarrett Gerdeman.
Yeah, I saw one of Groll's runs, and he ran through and over a couple of people. And I'm telling you, if Eggers can get healthy, Clay will have their hands full.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you have a healthy Eggers and Groll on the field at the same time, okay, and then again, Saucer and Sarragan out there are sneaky. They might only throw it 6 times, but 2 or 3 of them might be chunk plays. I think that's going to be a high-scoring affair if George Eggers is healthy.
High scoring.
Darn right. 35, 35, 31, 42, 35. Clay Napoleon, I really do.
Okay. All right. Detroit Martin Luther King 32-7 at Whitmer last night. The Crusaders outgained the Panthers 402-198 and rolled on the road. Whitmer falls to 1-1. They had 121 yards rushing, led by 73 from Joey Morales. Jamon Holmes tallied the lone Whitmer score, but Martin Luther King, put it on Whitmer a night ago.
They did. And when we talked in the podcast during the week, Lynn, I mean, I was kind of guessing. You maybe weren't.
Mm-hmm.
Rick and Aaron probably were guessing. We didn't know much, but it's rare that Whitmer, gets beat like that. And so I think that tells us a little something about Detroit Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
It's not just Cass Tech.
Yeah, they have some standouts on their roster.
Boy,
I need a new fresh cup of coffee, so I'm gonna take a break, and we'll be back after these words from our outstanding sponsors. The Swanton Welding Company proudly supports our local student athletes and coaches. We're committed to being your local steel fabrication company in Northwest Ohio and building projects across the country. For job opportunities at the Swanton Welding Company, visit www.swantonweld.com or visit them at 407 Zider Way in Swanton. American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store off Route 24 on State Route 109, just south of Liberty Center, now has 88 unleaded fuel and is your one-stop shop for fuel, food, drinks, and much, much more, including locally raised meats and home-baked goods. American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store is proud to support Black Swamp Football and is the host of the Black Swamp Football podcast, football show, and Saturday mornings Rise and Rewind. Stop in and see Glenn and Greg today and make American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store a part of your everyday routine. The fall sports season is here, and the Sports Place at Wauseon Ace has you covered. Stop in for all your football, volleyball, soccer, and golf practice gear and accessories. Did you know that the Sports Place at Wauseon Ace can create custom t-shirts while you wait? We can and we will. Come in with an idea and walk out with that perfect t-shirt of your own creation from the Sports Place at Wauseon Ace. We also offer custom embroidery. Whether it's a shirt, jacket, or other item, the Sports Place can fill your embroidery needs. Stop in and see us at 1495 North Shoup Avenue in Wauseon.
Who says a college degree is the only path to a fulfilling career? At the Gherkin Companies, we offer rewarding livelihoods with or without a degree. Gherkin provides a generous benefits package, continuous training, top-notch equipment, and a culture that rewards effort. We're looking for rock-solid performers to help build and reinforce the region's infrastructure. Whether you have construction experience or are just starting your career, apply now at gherkincompanies.com/careers.
Thank you to all of our sponsors, especially Norm Zider and the crew at Swanton Welding for sponsoring Rise and Rewind, our title sponsor for our Saturday morning recap show. And hopefully we can take this deep into November.
I would love to. And we were talking last night at our Gamecast, Lynn, at Columbus Grove. Ned Steckschulte, Columbus Grove's great stat man, made the trip with us to Canton to cover Liberty Center last year. And he was talking last night that he'd love to do it again. So I think he's thinking the Tigers could make a deep run.
He may have some snacks left over from a year ago. Remember, we picked him up. Did we pick him up in Findlay,
Frickers
right?
at Findlay.
He rolled in there with just grocery bags full of snacks. He had everything that you could want every mile. You guys want a snack stick? You want some snack mix?
I mean,
boy, he was loaded up. And boy, it was a great trip.
It was a great trip. But, I'm just at that time when we picked him up, I'm just nursing my coffee a little bit, trying to wake up. And he gets in with, several pounds of snack sticks.
I think he had some jerky in there.
He did. And just keeps offering it up.
Yeah.
And,
he was prepared.
He was.
That was a great day. I'll never forget that.
No, that was a great day. And like you said last night, if we'd have got stranded,
we could have survived a couple months.
Yeah,
I think we'd have been all right if a snowstorm would have got us on the way.
I think we
or the way back.
If you know Ned, that story's that much better.
Yeah,
he's the best.
He is the best, and boy, he knows how to compile the stats.
Well, I'm sitting by him last night, which is awesome, and he's got his stat computer. And as the stats are happening, he's typing them in.
Yeah,
and then he'll turn his computer so I can see his screen. And it's like trying to read a nuclear code for me. I'm like, what? All I want is rushing.
Yes.
How many rushing yards? And it's like, again, I can't.
Nuclear code.
It is. Good Lord. And then some of these stats,
Yeah, I think he does them by himself too.
He does.
Most college or most stat crews have a spotter or a couple spotters to help them out. Ned does it himself. I don't know how.
No, he does.
He's a wizard.
Yeah, and he's at the same time he yells at officials, and he can wear a lot of hats, man.
No doubt about it. Let's move it over to some GMC NWL games from a night ago. Patrick Henry 41-0 last night over Ayersville at Big Red Stadium. Patrick Henry dominated the GMC foe for the second straight week as the Patriots needed only 30 snaps to post 237 yards and 41 points. Ayersville, did you see their total?
Yep.
Mustered 68 yards on 32 plays. Tough night for the Pilots against that rugged defense of PH. Cal Schrader led the Patriots with 96 yards rushing and 2 scores. Jaden Rudder chipped in 66 yards and 2 scores on 10 attempts. Reed Jackson also hit pay dirt for PH. Grant Schwab caught 4 passes for 98 yards and a touchdown. Tristan Rosebrook hit on 14 of 21 aerials, 247 yards in the win. The stats for Patrick Henry individually, nothing crazy for them to score 41 points, but it was a group effort, and they put up 41 on the Pilots, and they get Columbus Grove coming to town next week. I don't know how much of a challenge that is going to be for them.
As I looked at your recap this morning, Lynn, before we went in, the first thing that jumped out wasn't the 41, because that's kind of ho-hum, honestly, if you followed PH. But that defense, and more notably, the rushing defense of Patrick Henry, they are really, really good defensively. And I think their offense is going to be a work in progress. Now, the last 2 weeks, Hicksville, Ayersville, they were able to do some things offensively, but I think we saw a complete team in Liberty-Benton last night, which we'll get to. I think that's what Patrick Henry would like to become. They're already in that neighborhood in the trenches. And if you can build from the inside out, you have a chance. They're there. They've got some new faces at quarterback, on the flanks. That's going to take time. Cal Schrader at tailback. That's going to take time to develop, and their schedule sets up really nice. Now, Grove's going to be a test, but then the next 2 weeks, they have a couple more weeks to kind
Bryan and Wauseon. And
correct.
And then the big one right here at Rex Lindgren Stadium against Liberty Center on September 26th, a game we will have on our Gamecast presented by the Sports Place at Wauseon Ace. And then they have Delta coming to Big Red Stadium the following week in week 7, and then they go to Archbold. Liberty Center, Delta, Archbold. Probably if you look at the NWL right now, Liberty Center, Patrick Henry, Archbold, Delta. Players at the top half of that conference.
I would agree wholeheartedly. What makes it so tough, and I know this is down the road, for a Delta against a PH is Delta is ground-based, and PH's strength is that run defense.
Right, yeah, no doubt about that. But another dominant performance from Patrick Henry. They need to get healthy here in the next month before they roll in here to Big Red Stadium. They have some injuries that hopefully – they have those guys back for that matchup. They're going to need a full roster to come in here
before they roll into Rex Lindgren.
Yes.
You said Big Red.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're going to ruffle some feathers.
I know I will. Yeah.
So I had to help you.
No,
there.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
No, you're right, Lynn. Absolutely correct. They need to get healthy, and this week's going to be physical too.
Yeah.
You know, Grove is
will
going
pound
to
them.
Yes, they will.
They'll not back down. Will the Bulldogs? We haven't seen Patrick Henry yet this season, but what you do know about Patrick Henry, we've seen Columbus Grove. Now, Grove is going to be able to spread them out a little bit with their passing game, Landon Best and the Baxter boys and Gavin Barraza. But do they have enough in that passing game to pick up enough yardage and points against that Patrick Henry defense? I mean, you're probably not going to get – are they going to get a couple touchdowns on PH?
If I'm being honest,
maybe a field goal from Evan Verhoff, 17,
possibly. I think they'll have more success offensively, and the Patriots may prove me wrong. Trust me. I think they'll have more success this week against Patrick Henry than they did last night against Liberty-Benton.
Now they have Grant Smith on the edge.
Darn right they do.
And boy, he wreaked havoc on Grove a couple years ago.
Yeah, virtually unblockable.
Yeah.
But Liberty-Benton, oh my goodness, their size and speed. Now, Grant Smith's in a league of his own. You know, we're big fans of Grant Smith. C.J. Barbara is Grant Smith-esque. Grant Smith-esque. And then on the other defensive end, well, he can play tackle and end in a four-man front, and even front is Granger. And, you know, he's 270.
Yeah.
But he can move. I mean, he can set the edge and he can get to the quarterback. So the reason I say I think they'll have a little more success this week is I think that Liberty-Benton's a little more complete on the back end. Now, I'm not saying a lot better, but a little more complete, a little more seasoned.
Yeah.
So I think Columbus Grove's gonna be able to
move it a little better.
I do. But and then Patrick Henry, you know, some of those guys, coaches will listen to this, and I hope they use it. I like it when coaches use stuff and present it as a challenge.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah. Cal Schrader in that backfield for Patrick Henry. I don't know that we know what this. It's a little bit of a new offense without Lincoln Krieger, who was a big part of their offense a season ago. Cal Schrader, from what I'm hearing from Patrick Henry folks, is an outstanding running back for them.
Yes, and I don't know how much overall depth they have, how much they can spread the ball around. Now, the first couple of weeks they've been able to. Liberty-Benton can spread the ball around. You know, they have 5 or 6 different guys that can break a game open. Cal Schrader can do that, but it's a long season, you know, so you need some depth there. Jaden Rudder is a very capable back also in the backfield, and I'm curious to see Patrick Henry a little bit. I know Reed Krieger has emerged as a big-time threat as a receiver.
I don't know that they've had the Holloway kid. I think he's been nicked up a little bit here the first 2 weeks. Another one. They're maybe a little more deep in the receiving core this year than they were a year ago. Patrick Henry.
That's bodes well.
Would you agree?
I would agree. I'm
a little more experience.
Yeah, a little
Reed
more.
was young.
No, he was a
Schwab
puppy.
young.
Yep. I like Schwab. Holloway, we saw some flashes, especially against Liberty Center.
Yeah, he had a touchdown and a 2-point conversion.
Yeah. Yep. So I am curious to see how Patrick Henry continues to evolve and then, set the stage for a dandy over here. If they both walk in unblemished, could that be an old school crowd, like late 90s crowd? I think so.
It could be. Yeah, I think you're right. That's week 6, right? Yeah, week 6.
Here's the thing. if you're Coach Inselman, and I've said it ad nauseum, no one is better about keeping his troops grounded than Bill Inselman. He can make an 0-10 team sound like a 10-0 team. But I'm telling you, I guarantee you, he is going to be uber guarded this week, making sure his guys don't overlook an 0-2 Columbus Grove team. Because if anybody can sting you, it's Andy Schaefer's Bulldogs. They're going to come limping in a little bit after getting beat up. They are dangerous.
Yeah.
And Bill knows that. And the coaches know that. Hopefully the kids know that. Because if they fall asleep, Grove can get them.
Yeah. We'll dive into Columbus Grove and their 0-2 start and what they have coming up a little bit later on the show. A dandy over in Tontogany last night. Otsego 29, Tenora 27. The Rams tried a 2-point try late in that one, 3:06 left. The 2-point try was picked off by the Knights, and Craig Rutherford and his crew moved to 2-0 on the young season. They averaged 8.1 yards per rush, did Otsego. 307 yards on 38 attempts last night. Grady Frank totaled 126 yards rushing on just 13 carries, and he scored twice. Keegan Hutton added 86 yards on 5 attempts and also found the end zone. Mason Kramer also added a rushing touchdown for the Knights. Sonora now 0-2. They have Archbold next week. They mustered just 69 yards rushing on 23 attempts. Threw for 340, though. Owen Farrell, he is outstanding. 25 of 37, 340 yards, 3 scores. Josh Lieb, 11 catches, 126 yards. Owen Reynolds had 5 grabs for 105 yards and a score as well. Abram Jimenez also had a touchdown reception, and Dylan Shively added 5 snags for 82 yards and a score.
One thing I would say, Lynn, is, or one question I would have, has anyone played more close games in the last 3 to 5 years than the Tenora Rams? My goodness. It seems like half of their games end sometimes in controversy, but it's tight. They're right there. And that was I'll tell you why that was a huge win for Otsego, because you look at their schedule the next 4 weeks: Liberty Center, Genoa, Oak Harbor, Eastwood.
Ooh.
And so you dropped that one last night. Boy, it's tough sledding.
Yeah.
And now they're 2-0 marching in here.
Coming in here to Rex Lindgren Stadium, Kip Kern Field next Friday night. We'll have that call on our Gamecast presented by the Sports Place at Wauseon Ace. Maybe a quick moving game. Craig Rutherford is going to keep it on the ground. I think they only attempted 1 pass last night to Otsego in that victory over Tenora, maybe 2 at most, if I remember correctly from looking at the stats. But Craig he'll have his team ready. They'll have a good game plan to come in here to Liberty Center and try to give themselves a chance maybe in the fourth quarter. But can they slow down that Liberty Center rushing attack? They're going to be undersized. Otsego's not huge up front. Can they slow down Liberty Center?
We'll get into this in the podcast. But, Lynn, these games, a coach like Rutherford, Craig Rutherford, these games are kind of fun. I know that sounds crazy playing Liberty, but kind of fun in that it is a challenge to game plan accordingly. And so the whole key to this whole thing for Otsego, the whole key is to limit Liberty Center's possessions, period. That's it. So you bleed that play clock. And now in the meantime, you've got to move the chains to possess the ball. But you bleed that play clock, methodically move the ball, mix in a play action here and there. And then at the end of the first quarter, if Liberty Center's only touched the ball maybe once or twice, it's possible. We did it against Anthony Wayne a few years ago. And then maybe they get frustrated and press a little bit. Now, easier said than done.
Right. Yeah.
And most of the time.
Well, we were talking to a Liberty-Benton assistant after the game last night, and we're talking about Arlington when they play them. And they said the Red Devils they'll run the play clock down to 1 every time, and Liberty-Benton will get 3-4 possessions the whole game.
Yeah.
That's your only chance.
Yeah, and that's real. And some people, it's like the way Paul Wayne used to have to play against certain opponents, and so it drove some people nuts. I absolutely salivate at that because that is a coach understanding how to put his players in position to succeed. And if Otsego can do that, maybe they have
to be able to gain some yards, 3, 4. If you're losing 2 yards on first down and it's 2nd and 12, well, then what you going to do?
And
you get 4 yards on second. Well, it's 3rd and 8. Then you have to throw it.
Yep. So, they got to be able to move the chains a little bit and punt the football. Punt's a good play, and it's going to be much easier said than done. But I'm excited to see Liberty Center up close in a game, but also Craig Rutherford and what he's building at Otsego.
Yeah. I know if you're a Liberty Center coach, you're probably looking at Coach Rutherford like, man, he's going to have something up his sleeve for you. He's kind of a mad scientist. He'll get in that lab this week and create a game plan that'll try to give the Knights a chance.
He is, and
they'll be undermanned.
Yeah,
in that matchup.
Yeah, it's funny talking to Craig Rutherford. A lot of the people around here may not know him, but you talk to him, and he's just kind of an old golly gee, and you think he's a real simple guy. I'm telling you right now, it's deep up here. He's a thinker.
Well,
and
you think he'll ask his dad, Jerry, for some assistance maybe on a game plan this week?
I do, but Jerry may say, you're on your own, son. You got to cut your own teeth.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun, and it's nice to have his legendary father to bounce ideas off of.
We'll follow that one coming up next Friday here at Liberty Center as Otsego comes in. Both teams will be 2-0.
I mean, it's the best you can be at this point.
The Liberty Center folks will be excited. They're excited for any game, and Otsego folks, on your way, stop in here to American Freedom Energy. They'll have another tailgate, usually start around 4. I don't know the food truck they have coming in this upcoming Friday, but we'll get you that info on our podcast coming up on Tuesday next week, not Monday with Labor Day. On Monday, we'll be on Tuesday with our podcast and football show. Fairview and Delta played another dandy 36-32 Fairview last night over the Panthers at the reservation. Fairview edged. You got the food truck there for us?
Yep.
Queso Kitchen will be the food truck here for Otsego and Liberty Center. Fairview 36-32 over Delta. Fairview edged the Panthers to move to 2-0 against NWL foes. They beat Wauseon a week ago. The Apaches went to the air, 365 yards passing from William Zedike, 21 of 33. 199 yards receiving by Logan Olinger in the triumph. Olinger had 2 of the 3 Zedike touchdown aerials, while Jonathan Huffman had 3 catches for 79 yards, and he hauled in the other score. Olinger also added 2 rushing touchdowns. Delta falls to 1-1, 258 yards rushing, 130, and 2 scores from Marcus Nagel in that one, as Fairview just a little too much in the passing game last night.
33 attempts.
Yep.
And, certainly a clash of styles. And here's what I think. Number one, we knew this was going to be a coin toss.
Yeah.
This was going to be a good battle no matter how you cut it. But what makes Fairview a little bit different from your traditional, spread teams or whatever people think are more finesse in that, Fairview has grit.
Mm-hmm.
Fairview's going to throw it around a little bit, but they're also going to smack you in the mouth up front and then on defense, and it makes them a little bit different. It gives them an edge that maybe some of those teams don't have the reputation of having. And Fairview's got a nice blend of athleticism, and they've got a great trigger man who's got a ton of experience.
Yeah, yes, he does.
Since he's been playing since he's a freshman, right?
Yeah.
I remember watching him one of his first games as a 9th grader, Will Zedike.
Fairview will play Bryan here in week 3. And how about this game for Delta at home? They have Gibsonburg coming in.
That may be over that may be over at halftime of most other games.
Yeah. There'll be there'll be 5 passes thrown combined.
That would be okay. That'd be a good over-under. I'd set it at 7.5.
7.5.
Combined passes thrown in that game, because Coach Vickers won't do it if he doesn't have to.
No.
And some people, I know it drives them nuts. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Be an interesting matchup. Grant Smith for Gibsonburg. Boy, he's a special running back in the stable that Coach Vickers has. Vincent Martinez, Marcus Nagel, and that'll be a good one to follow coming up here in week number 3.
It's just crazy how we talked about Joe Horn at St. John's earlier, Lynn. It is just crazy how one man can take over a program and just infuse life into them. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Paulding 61-0 at North Central last night. Panthers moved to 2-0, romped over the Eagles, held North Central to 6 total yards. Paulding had 350. North Central has now been outscored 118-0 this season. Colt Hunt completed 8 of 12 passes, 213 yards, 4 scores. He completed 4 of those to Jordan Mans, who had 120 yards and 2 scores. Jalen Mans also had 2 touchdowns receiving for Paulding. Not found out much about Paulding. Swanton and North Central to start the season may needed to up their schedule this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's what I'll tell you. They've got their key guys, the nucleus of guys they have at Paulding are stars. I mean, they could play for anybody, and I mean anybody in this area.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be 5-0 going into the Fairview game. And here's what's crazy. That week, we're going to say, we don't know anything about Paulding.
Yeah.
And they're going to be 5-0.
Yeah.
Totally untested, but they're good.
North Central has been decimated by Woodmore and Paulding here the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where North Central goes as a program, because when they built that thing, Coach Scott Thompson was the man that helped get it going. They had a very unique, very special class of athletes coming through. And at a school that size, you don't get those every day. You look at the Antwerp class a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Different breed. So where does North Central go? Can they sustain this with the numbers and school size and things like that? We're going to see, but it's been a tough 2 weeks. 118-0.
118-0 first 2 weeks, and not a lot of yards.
Yeah, that's
they've given up quite a few.
Yeah, there's some questions I think will need to be asked down the road.
Hicksville 22-6 over Swanton last night. Cross Zedike turned out 182 yards rushing and 1 score on 25 carries to pace the Aces that they pick up win number 1. Dennis Robinson was 12 of 20 passing for Swanton for 109 yards. The Bulldogs have lost 29 straight, which is now the longest streak in Ohio, after Oberlin snapped its 31-game skid by edging Brooklyn 13-12 last night.
That I noticed that tidbit in your recap. That's what separates you, buddy. I couldn't believe you pulled that out.
Well,
the Brooklyn stat.
Fantastic 50 does some pretty good research. I got that one from them.
I know they do, but you also have to be willing and able to find it.
Yeah.
And some people are too lazy to dig for it, and you did it, which I'm not surprised.
What does Swanton do as a program? 29 straight, have not been competitive really for the last handful of years against any team that's average.
Yeah, average.
And then they're struggling with average teams.
Average or worse teams, yeah.
Are they in a position where they got to look at some options possibly as a football program?
Lynn, it's funny. And people that watch us know I talk about Swanton a lot. I'm like, what's he hung up on? Because of how deep their tradition is.
Yeah. Do we have to get off the tradition? It's not the 70s or 80s or 90s in the Swanton community anymore.
Yeah, and Lynn, I'm looking at their schedule here. Now they play an 0-2 Ottawa Hills team this week. And for all intents and purposes, really their only chance for a win this season. And then after Ottawa Hills this week, how about this? Liberty Center, Delta, Archbold. And you just have to ask yourself, how much longer can you do that? And I'm the number one traditionalist in the world. I hate change more than anybody. But you just can't keep doing this. You just can't keep doing this.
And how are you going to get kids to play football when the scores are what they are?
Yep.
When you're getting your teeth kicked in pretty much every week. What does practice look like on Monday? How are you getting those guys excited to play a Liberty Center when you know the outcome? You can play that games a billion times. Yep. It's not going to change.
No, and that's the exact point I was going to make. Imagine rolling in for Monday's practice with Liberty Center on the horizon, and then how do you keep kids playing? I talked to somebody involved heavily with the Swanton school system last year when they were looking for a new coach. And I said, what's the biggest issue? He said, the biggest issue is kids aren't coming out for football because they don't want to get smacked every single Friday night. So there's other more enticing options where that aren't as physical in nature. And so how do you turn things around if kids aren't coming out? And then how do you entice them to come out if this is what they have to look forward to? It's a catch-22. And I think there's ways to do it. And I'm crazy thinking that way, maybe.
But how far into the future do you have to build?
Okay. And this is going to
5 years.
This is going to sound crazy. This is a reclamation project. You've got to get down. I'm just going to give you a estimate. You got to get down to second graders. And you've got to have clinics and youth camps, and you've got to just be handing out T-shirts like they're candy and inviting
But who is putting in that effort for something 5-6 years down the road?
Yeah, no, it's going to take a very, very, very unique person that's willing to see that through, because you're going to have to do. It's like when Rex Lingeren started turning the tide here. He'll tell you he did some crazy things out of the ordinary nobody else was doing, just trying to indoctrinate kids, and that's essentially what you got to do: brainwash them, indoctrinate them, and if people. If, let's say, Swanton graduates, they've had some superstars over the years. If they're not moving back there or sending their kids there, it gets further and further away from you. And the Swanton football situation right now, to me, would be a great master's thesis. How did it get here, and can you bring it back? If so, how? Mm-hmm. And I think it would be. Use the word fun here, you'll smack me, but in a way, fun to be part of trying to bring that back. I'm not talking as a coach. I'm talking like as a consultant. Like I would have fun as a consultant giving some input and
but you're going to have to put in 3 times the effort that any other coach is doing. And for what?
Hardly any yeah. So it's got to start with numbers. I mean, you've got to have numbers, and then your best athletes in the school can't be playing something else. I mean, I don't ever like to name specific other sports in that, but they're not coming out for football. They're just not. And so I think the only way, kids, we've seen it with Toledo Christian. We've seen it with even some of like Fremont St. Joe, Sandusky St. Mary's. Sometimes I'm not beating the drum for the 8-man game here, but if you look at 8-man, that has saved more than a few programs. And, again, we compete in basketball, we compete in baseball, and absolutely they do. Especially with Bruce Smith running the basketball program. It's in basketball. Football's a different animal. Basketball, you can have 2 or 3 dudes, sometimes 1 or 2 dudes, and compete. Football, different animal.
Yeah.
So
Liberty Center 48-14 over Eastwood here in Liberty Center last night. The Tigers ripped off 397 yards rushing and 507 yards of total offense and pulled away from scheduled newcomer Eastwood. Garrison Cruz, huge night for the junior back. Scored 3 rushing touchdowns, also added a receiving score for the Tigers, now 2-0. Cruz needed only 12 rushes to gain 249 yards while adding 2 receptions for 33 yards. Thomas Moeller added 95 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. And Baxter Barrett hit pay dirt for the second straight week. Eastwood completed 20 of 30 passes, 213 yards behind the arm of Braden Ludhart. Gavin Richards caught 7 passes, 116 yards, and both Eastwood scores. Eastwood did not have starting quarterback Drew Ludhart, obviously broke his arm in the preseason in the scrimmage, and then they also did not have their number 1 receiver, Cam Shoemaker, last night, but that would have made a difference, but not a huge in the final score of this one. They were unable to stop Liberty Center's rushing attack.
And you just summed up what I was going to say. It might have helped you offensively, but you still got to stop the Tigers. And Garrison Cruz's numbers, and I've never been good at math, Lynn. My teachers at Liberty Center will tell you that. But
I was just going to ask you what his average was.
Yeah. So 249 yards, 12 carries. Even I can figure that out. 20.75, 20.8 if you round up.
Oh boy.
20.8 yards per tote.
Ooh.
20. That is gashing a defense.
Boy, is it. My goodness. What a night for the junior running back, and Eastwood's going to have to contend with him at their place next year too.
And here's the thing. We've seen great backs run behind mediocre lines. And there's some really good backs in the area this year that don't have this luxury. You combine a dominant line like Liberty Center has with a bruiser like Garrison Cruz.
He's also a weapon in the receiving game too. Yeah,
if you're not good up front, you absolutely will get bludgeoned to death, because if he gets going, do you want to be the one to tackle him when he has a head of steam?
No, I don't. No, I do not. Wauseon went to Bellevue last night and fell 42-14 to the Redmen. Bellevue opened up a 21-0 lead after 1 quarter and 42-0 at the half before Wauseon scored its only points in the 4th quarter. Wauseon now 0-2, found the going tough against the Redmen with 84 yards rushing on 28 attempts and only 53 yards passing.
I thought it was going to be tough sledding. Bellevue coach Ed Nassani was there forever.
Yeah.
And finally, I think, turned the program over.
Yep.
And so a little bit of change there at Bellevue. Sometimes change can be good and refreshing. I think here's what I think. I think some people thought that after Wauseon's showing against Fairview that they could go on the road and maybe get this one. Bellevue erased that question early.
42-0 at half, 21-0 after the first quarter. That was decimation from the get-go.
It was
the hosts.
It'll be interesting the next couple weeks. Wauseon has Eastwood this week, and then Evergreen week 4. So Wauseon's one that I kind of try to keep an eye on too, because
I think everybody kind of got excited and thought the way they performed against Fairview that maybe Wauseon was making some progress. Now after last night, that thought maybe gets knocked back a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So keep an eye on them, and good luck to Coach Moore and the Indians.
St. Henry 27-19 victory at Blue Streak Stadium last night over Archbold. Charlie Whirling ran for 120 yards and 3 scores, also added 174 yards passing to guide the Redskins past the Streaks. Landon Schwartz hauled in 3 passes for 84 yards and a score as well for St. Henry. The Blue Streaks, now 1-1, had 187 yards rushing and 162 passing, including 119 yards on 6 rushes by Ryder Ryan, who also found the end zone, but maybe a little closer than we expected this game to be.
I would say that's true.
I think St. Henry was in control kind of throughout, but
yeah, just looking at the play-by-play scoring, Archbold scored a little bit later.
yeah,
I'm not saying they scored on a bunch of subs. I'm just saying they did most of their damage late, and I think St. Henry maybe felt like they were in control. So, but I would still say Archbold showed pretty well in this football game, and I think Archbold's going to be a team in the NWAL, Lynn, that can beat anyone on a given night.
Can they beat Liberty Center?
I think based on hanging with St. Henry there, I think they can trade punches with Liberty Center for a half or a little more. I don't think they can sustain it for 48 minutes, but I think Archbold, outside of Patrick Henry, Archbold's going to be the team that's going to give Liberty the best game.
St. Henry have Marian Local next week. Can you look that up for me?
I sure will. Actually, I was getting ready to do that. Oh boy, you got it, buddy. Home with Marian Local. That'll be a fun one to discuss on the podcast, because if St. Henry's back, we're going to find out.
Yeah, we'll be excited in that community for Marian Local 66-game winning streak coming in to St. Henry next week.
That'll be an old school crowd, buddy.
I bet so.
Wouldn't that be fun to go down there?
Oh, yeah, it would.
That's a type of game Brayton Martin would go to.
He may be going there with his dad, Denny.
And I'll tell you who else would. Jeff Smith,
yeah,
who's a Tenora guy, lives in Napoleon.
Yeah.
Smitty will make a trip like that, too. So we'll have to check with Brayton and Denny. I bet they're going down there.
They could be. Well, I think Brayton does some stats for Ayersville, so probably not.
Gotcha.
I think he's helping out with some stats here at different weeks for the Pilots this season. Maybe his dad will be going, but I don't think Brayton will be going.
Gotcha.
Can you run through the Marian Local stats for us? That we just got those, Coach?
Sure will.
As they rolled over Crestview last night, extended the nation's longest winning streak to 66 in a row. Third straight shutout dating back to last year's state final blanking of Hillsdale. The Flyers held the Knights to 100 yards rushing, and star running back Braxton Leith to 79 yards on 23 carries. Anything jump out at you from the stats we just got from Marian Local from a night ago?
Taking a look at the Marian Local side primarily, Brennan Hess was 5 of 7 passing, 124 yards. Did throw a pick, but 3 touchdowns. Receiving kind of inconsequential there. In the rushing department, Ben Meyer, 7 carries, 104 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then they had a host of other young men carry the football. And just kind of ho-hum if you look at
you never look at Marian Local stats and
no,
if something jumps out at you where a guy goes for 300 or anything like that. They kind of use a lot of guys because they have a big lead, and 100 yards here, 50 here, 40, 30, 20, 10.
And then you look at the score.
It's 63-0.
It sounds like and our good friend Kenny Stabler.
Yeah, had the call for 99.7 WKSD last night from Crestview.
Yep, and I didn't get into the turnovers too much, but Kenny was giving us updates throughout the night, and it seemed like every other message he sent, it was Marian Local scoring off a Crestview turnover. So that's why you don't have gaudy rushing and passing numbers, because they probably had a short field. Now, Braxton Leith, the outstanding running back for Crestview, had 24 carries, 79 yards. Now, that's a 3.3 average, which pretty standard, I guess.
That game got out of hand pretty quick. How many of those yards were second, third freshmen from the Flyers?
Yeah,
but the thing is, they don't even their backups and the backups don't give up points for Marian Local.
They don't, because the standard, like nobody wants to be the group to lose a game, obviously, but they don't even want to be the group to surrender a first down. Because the upperclassmen are going to go, "What are you doing giving up a first down? We don't give up first downs." Right.
Boy, going to be fun to break down that Marian Local at St. Henry game.
Oh man, that'll be fun to dive
right
into.
Now, what chance do you give St. Henry to pull an upset? Percent? Is it below 10?
I was going to say 10. That was going to be my number. I'm going to give them 10.
Okay.
I'm going to give them 10, and some people may say you're being too generous. It's less than 5. I'm going to give them 10. It's at St. Henry.
Yeah.
Now you're going to need, here's the problem. All the things you're going to need, Marian Local doesn't do. You're going to need a couple turnovers. You're going to need a couple short fields because maybe you had a good punt or kick return. Well, Marian Local doesn't do those things. They don't let you do those things.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But big win in the MAC to start off MAC play coming up in week number 3. Evergreen all over Ottawa Hills last night in Metamora, 42-0 Vikings. The Vikings romped with 388 total yards to 102 for the 0-2 Green Bears. Bryce Bolger needed only 8 completions to post 230 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Quentin Eisel caught 2 of the scores and had 143 yards receiving on 5 snags. Will Wrights of Evergreen also had a 47-yard touchdown grab and a rushing score. Hayes Studinka led the Evergreen ground game with 96 yards on 11 totes and also found the end zone. But boy, Evergreen poured it on an Ottawa Hills program that has taken a step back from what they have here the last handful of years.
Yeah, it's tough to sustain.
Got hammered by graduation, and Brandon Carter now trying to rebuild that.
Yeah, they had a couple classes come through there, going back to A.J. George and Luke Nepper and Jack Vicent and Reddick Pillarelli and Chase Miller.
Yeah,
boy, they had some good classes come through there. And
sounds like A.J. George will be starting at linebacker for Columbia this season.
That's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
One thought on Evergreen, Lynn, and I do not mean this at all to sound negative in any way. Just as a sports fan, what I'm super curious to see, Evergreen has shown that they're gonna win the games they're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, very convincing. 41-7 week 1, 42-0 week 2. They have a chance, the way their schedule sets up, to get to 4-0. They have a chance. Now they have Wauseon week 4. That'll be tough. Can Evergreen not only beat badly the teams they're supposed to, can they get to the point where they're in the game late? I didn't say win, but in the game late with Liberty Center, with Patrick Henry, with, I'll say, Archbold.
And beat Archbold a year ago, kind of their signature win. Maybe took advantage of a down year in the league a little bit.
Yeah.
A year ago.
Yep. And Evergreen people, they fly under the radar. They like this team, starting with their quarterback, Bolger.
Yeah.
And I am curious to see.
Another level. What's the next level?
I know. And are they capable of getting there?
Yeah.
They've got, I don't know how many people have been around Evergreen schools, but they've got top-notch facilities. They've got a great weight room. They've got a beautiful school. They have a vast school district in terms of square miles and their enrollment solid. I mean, Evergreen is a solid place, and they have resources to get this done. I'm just curious to see if they're going to do it.
Yeah. Let's move it to the Western Buckeye League as they got into action tonight. To go, Defiance goes to Ottawa and pulls out a 21-20 victory over Ken Schreiner and the Titans. Defiance stopped a 2-point attempt late in the game for the second straight week to prevail. A Jagger Burgeye touchdown brought the Titans within one of the Bulldogs late, but the 2-point try was stopped at the 1 by the Bulldogs, who now move to 2-0. Chase Comiso, another big night for the Bulldogs, 162 yards rushing on 23 lugs to pace Defiance. Kelton Gibbs added 109 yards rushing on 17 carries. They both tallied touchdowns, while Colt Ward had a touchdown toss to Jordan Wright for Defiance. But Steve Rittenauer, 2-0, squeak out wins these first 2 weeks against Napoleon and OG.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. I got a million thoughts on Defiance OG and then Defiance's program as a whole. A good friend of mine who coaches at Defiance was talking to me the other day, and he said, I want to ask you honestly why you picked against us in the podcast. And it was a sincere question. And I said, well, you're coming off an emotional win. You're going on the road to an 0-1 OG. They're going to be hungry. They're well coached. Just all the reasons I thought it would be tough for Defiance to win. And yet they found a way. And Chase Camaso, he's the real deal.
Yeah.
And Kelton Gibbs is the real deal. And if Colt Ward continues to grow and mature, you look at Defiance's schedule. If you would have asked, I think most people, not just us, before the season, you look at what Defiance graduated. Holy cow, great class. So much youth coming back, so many question marks. Most people would have said coming in, if Defiance could somehow be 5-5, that would be a really nice first year for Steve Rittenauer.
Yeah.
And now here they are sitting at 2-0. I don't know if most people thought they'd beat Napoleon and OG and be 2-0. Wapakoneta this week's going to be a handful. And why don't you go through some of their other games coming up?
Wapakoneta at home, Fred J. Brown Stadium, at St. Mary's, who's 0-2. Home with Van Wert, home with Shawnee, at Kenton, at Elida, home with Bath, and at Salina. It looks like maybe the WBL is Walpock, Bath, and then from there, not sure. Van Wert, maybe. Does Defiance have enough?
Coin flip.
Yeah, I don't know that seeing Defiance and Walpock, that's going to be a tough ask for the Bulldogs this week.
It's going to be a tough ask as we look at that schedule.
Can they run on that Walpock defense?
If they do, I will be impressed. I don't think so. And then you got to keep, here's the thing, they don't have a ton of depth.
Yeah.
And so when your bell cows like Camaso and Gibbs are carrying the rock as often as they are, they're going to get banged up a little bit, even though they're tough physical kids. 34-9
Walpock a year ago at home over Defiance. Can they make up that big of a difference?
If they do, I'll be super impressed just based on what we've seen out of Walpock. But it's crazy what I said a moment ago, Lynn, and now I look at Defiance's schedule and where they are 2-0. It's conceivable. They could get to 6 or 7 wins. And then you're talking 6-7 wins, 12-team playoff. If Steve Rittenauer, and we got a long way to go. He would smack me for saying this literally. If Defiance could somehow find the postseason in Steve Rittenauer's first year after taking over a youthful team, I mean, coach of the year in this area, depending on division, because Sam Arredondo's off to a good start at Springfield.
Right.
But Steve Rittenauer, kudos to him, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Also in the Western Buckeye League last night, Van Wert 19, Elida. The Cougars overcame 203 yards rushing by the Bulldogs to earn that triumph. Both teams committed 4 turnovers. It was a sloppy one. Micah Cohen's caught a 5-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter for the decisive score from Zach Crummy. Crummy was 11 of 15 passing, 157 yards and 2 scores. Xavier Kelly had a huge night for Van Wert, now 2-0, 126 yards rushing and a score on 18 totes while adding 3 catches for 108 yards and another touchdown. Elida now 1-1 early in the season. Van Wert's going to have to clean up that rushing defense if they want to hang with the top portion of the Western Buckeye League, but have beaten Bryan and Elida so far, have the Cougars.
Yeah, not enough of a sample size, I don't think, to form a valid opinion. But I think Van Wert is one of those, maybe for me, the WBL team with maybe the most question marks. Who are they? What are they? They're as good as they can be right now. They're 2-0. But just, based on what we saw at our kickoff show, some of those kids, man, they got some big, husky, strong kids.
Right.
It'll be interesting in their head coach, Coach Recker's class act.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Coach down in the MAC last night, Fort Recovery went to Herod and beat Allen East, the Mustangs, 23-16, as Wes Winning moves to 2-0 in his young career with the Indians. Fort Recovery took a 23-7 lead into the half and held on in the second half to stay perfect on the early season. The Indians dominated on the ground, rushing for 292 yards on 53 attempts, held Allen East to 49 yards rushing on 18 tries. Reese Wendell powered the Fort Recovery rushing game, 178 yards and on 31 carries in that one for Fort Recovery. But a nice win on the road at Allen East. Not sure what Allen East is this season. We'll find out as the season progresses.
Yeah, and nonetheless, that's a good road win. I wasn't sure they could get it done there. You knew it'd be a close game, and
maybe
again,
not a game they won a year ago.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And again, we talking about coaches and how their personalities are contagious. Wes Wenning, what a joy to spend time with. I wish him the best, and I think they're going to continue to get better.
Columbus Afrocentric came up to Minster last night and came away with a convincing 48-20 victory over the Wildcats. The Nubians posted 24 points in the second quarter, 485 yards overall to rout the Wildcats. Afrocentric averaged 7.7 yards per rushing attempt and totaled 268 yards rushing on 35 tries. Caleb Anthony had 108 yards rushing on 5 carries while scoring 2 times. Joshua Smith was 16-19 passing, 217 yards, 2 scores, including 7 completions to Caleb Anthony, who had 122 yards and 1 score receiving. Dom Meyer led Minster with 102 yards rushing and 1 score. That Minster team, great senior class a season ago, a little bit of a drop off and not quite maybe the defense that they are accustomed to playing under Seth Whiting.
No, you summed it up really well. And I will tell you, if I were a betting man, and I'm not, I would have lost some money on this game.
What have you?
Yeah, I would have a significant amount, just because, and a lot of it's tradition and reputation of Minster. You know, I think of Afrocentric, I think of basketball prowess.
Right.
It just didn't see it. Now, I don't know. I'm just assuming I just didn't see it translating to the gridiron. What they did there at Minster last night tells me Afrocentric's the real deal on the football field. So nothing but respect for the Nubians.
Yeah. How about the Clinton-Massie coming up to Coldwater last night and picking up a 14-7 win over the defending Division 6 state champions. Falcons scored with 1:56 left to knock off the Cavaliers. The win gave Coach Dan McSorley his 300th coaching triumph, 22nd coach in Ohio history to reach the milestone. He is the 19th coach to have 300 wins solely in Ohio. He's 280-70 since he took over at Clinton-Massie in 1996, including state championships, 3 of them. And he was also 20-20 at St. Paris Graham. 2021, they won state titles. 2012 and 2013 did Clinton-Massie win state titles. Caden Zante's 1-yard touchdown plunge culminated in a game-winning 5-play, 41-yard scoring march in the final minutes for Clinton-Massie. Andrew Smith scored the opening points late in the first quarter on an 8-yard pass from Zantine. Bennett Spriggs caught a 12-yard touchdown from Carson Hutton with 2:46 left in the third stanza for Coldwater's only points. The Cavaliers gained just 68 yards rushing on 16 attempts and connected on only 6 of 14 passes for 44 yards and 112 yards overall on 30 snaps. Clinton-Massie ran for 242 yards on 55 attempts. Tristan Trampler led the Falcons with 121 yards rushing on 23 attempts. But a Clinton-Massie program known for its ruggedness rolled into Coldwater last night and picked up the victory in pretty impressive fashion.
Lynn, it's crazy. So I went to a coach's clinic in Louisville, Kentucky. Okay, Louisville, Kentucky, and one of the speakers was Coach Dan McSorley from Clarksville, Clinton-Massie. And I was eager to get into his session because I kind of knew the style they played. This guy is like the football coach on a made-for-TV movie. I mean, he is a big,
I say he's a bulky guy,
hefty, imposing. That voice, I mean, I'd be scared to death as a kid. And then he was going through, what they do offensively, and I'm sure they've evolved. That's been years ago, but full house T backfield, a lot like Pete Bruno, who I like to talk about, and what's coming. And you got to stop it. And another thing that sets them apart, his strength program. I mean, they lift heavy weights year round and during the season. His strength program, no nonsense. And so Clinton-Massie going to Coldwater last night was no big deal in terms of Coldwater's reputation. They take a backseat to nobody. I couldn't believe when I read your capsule here that Coach McSorley's still doing it.
Yeah, they have some financial troubles there at Clinton-Massie.
Right, yes.
He's a retire, rehire, and they were trying to get rid of some budget aspects there at the school, and there was some discussions about maybe him moving on.
Okay. That's
Here
what
recently.
I remember.
Yeah, recently.
Good info, because that's true now that you say it. And just one of those guys that I would love to have played for, would love to coach for, because I believe in his philosophy, would not fit in every community in school.
No.
Because he's old school.
Right.
Now, he'd work in Liberty Center, you know. There's a lot of places he would fit.
Yeah. Maybe a program that really flies under the radar,
They do.
but has had some outstanding success. 3 state titles,
They
all
do.
since 2012.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty darn impressive. Division 4 school this season.
Yeah.
But man, they're rugged. You been through Clarksville?
I haven't. I didn't take the last train there. You
Yeah,
know?
there you go.
Yeah,
There you
you
go.
go.
See how many of our folks watching
Well,
right now understand that.
The old people like Jay Brown will
Jay
understand.
Brown will understand.
His brother Jerry will too.
Yeah.
But it is. They fly under the radar. You know, you think Marian Local, Coldwater, Liberty Center, Clarksville, Clinton-Massie. There's people that wouldn't even have ever heard of them, honestly.
Yeah.
But Coach McSorley, man, physical, rugged, as you said, very well stated.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Also, some max scores from a night ago. Don't have any stats for you. Versailles 35-21 over Cincinnati Hills Christian Academy. New Bremen knocked off Covington 49-0. Anna squeaked by Fort Loramie 34-26. And Delphus Jefferson picks up a 26-14 victory over Parkway to round out some max scores from a night ago. Don't have any stats from those matchups, but that's the MAC roundup from a night ago. Liberty-Benton, a game that we had, picked up a 41-3 victory over Columbus Grove at Clymer Stadium, stopped a 20-game home winning streak by the Bulldogs at Clymer Stadium in pretty dominant fashion. LB now 2-0, had 356 total yards and held Grove to 163. The Elkert twins had a huge night for Liberty-Benton, with Zach rushing for 155 yards and 4 touchdowns on just 12 attempts, while his brother Seth had 6 catches, 162 yards, and the game's first score. Connor Barbara was 8 of 12, passing 176 yards. This is maybe not the Grove team we've seen, you know, in the last 4 or 5 years. Lost a big senior class, but Liberty-Benton, boy, are they special. That defensive front, that 4-man front. CJ Barbara, 6'4", 225, senior. Austin Berger, 6'2", 290, senior. Will Granger, 6'3", 270, senior. And Isaac Schwarm, the smallest of the group, 6'1", 235, also a senior. If you're thinking of Granger and Liberty-Benton, yes, Will's dad is AJ, who was a special basketball player, led Liberty-Benton to a state championship, and then helped Tom Izzo's Michigan State Spartans to a national championship. But boy, that group is good up front. CJ Barbara, the first quarter, you were calling his name every play.
Yep.
Every play, he was in the Columbus Grove backfield.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's a lot we could say. I know we talked about it a lot last night. This Liberty-Benton team's a little different.
I know it's just one game.
It is one game.
And we talked on our pregame, and you can go on our website, blackswampfootball.com, and listen to the broadcast if you want to from a night ago, if you missed it or you want to listen to it again. But kind of the knock on Liberty-Benton is they're not physical.
Finesse, yes.
Yeah.
This group's cut from a different cloth. And they knew going in, it's like when you play Liberty Center, when you play Columbus Grove, you better have them buckled up. And they didn't have them buckled up a year ago when Grove came to town.
42-14.
Yeah. They made the conscious decision last night to throw the first punch and then finish the fight. And if they're able to do that consistently, they're going to be a tough out. This is a very, very unique football team for Division 5. It's rare to see as complete a team. Now, I know Liberty Center's been complete for years. Liberty-Benton is maybe one of those teams that's...
Are they a little bit like that Oak Harbor team from a year ago?
Ooh.
I was thinking about that this morning.
Yes. I think, yes, in the trenches, they are. They are. If you can stop the run, but here's the thing, they're not only physical in the box, they're interior and linebackers. They've got maybe the best secondary in this whole area.
Yeah, quarterback Connor Barbara is at a corner, Reed Irwin is at a corner, then they have Carson Griffin and Seth Elkert back there at safety.
I mean, he's roaming back there with his length.
Yeah, the linebackers don't have to do much with that front four.
No.
Austin Collard, Grayson Wages, and then Zach Elkert plays linebacker too.
Yeah,
but good size, and they're all fit. They're not pudgy.
No,
the guys that are the big linemen, they're fit, well put together, and then some of those same defensive linemen are on the offensive front. Isaac Schwarm at tackle, Maddox Vermillions at guard, Robert Lawrence at center, Jonas Frederick is at a guard, and then Will Granger plays the other side at the tackle spot. And Seth Elkert, one of the best small school receivers in the entire state, not just in this area. And there were times when Connor Barbara just took a 3-step drop, chucked it up for number 10, and number 10 went, and if he had to, he'd just jump over the defensive back. There's not many defensive backs that are going to match up with Seth Elkert.
Nope, at any level. When I knew, and this is crazy, you can form an opinion this early, the very first offensive play of the game for Columbus Grove, William Granger, 6'3", 270, was the defensive end to the defensive right side. And he was lined up like head up over the end man on the line of scrimmage. And they tried to double team him on the very first play of the game. And he just basically stepped through that double team. And I knew it was going to be a long night. You're not going to run off. I'll put it this way. If you can run off tackle against Liberty-Benton, then you're legit, because I don't know that anybody's going to all year. And
well, you're not going to run inside on them either.
Nope.
Columbus Grove tried a few times, and maybe their best inside run, 4 yards.
Yeah, that's about right.
Maybe
and that was late in the game,
in the third, fourth quarter.
Yep.
Yeah,
they're good, and as good as I've seen. Outside of Liberty Center, Oak Harbor was one of the better teams I've seen, where I watch them and go, you know what, they would have a chance to play with Liberty. It's rare, we say that, and Liberty-Benton's there. The question I would have is their run game. Liberty Center's run game's pretty diverse, with sweeps, trap, buck, belly, power, wing reverse, wing counter. Liberty-Benton's not that diverse on the ground. I think they
mostly in a single back set, though.
Yes,
a lot, though, too.
They are, and a quarterback that can run it.
Yeah,
but that's how they want to play. I don't know if they could run the football effectively enough against Liberty Center to beat them. I think they would have to have a big night throwing to beat Liberty. I really do.
They get into the Blanchard Valley Conferences, Liberty-Benton here the next 8 weeks. How many running clocks?
It's not going to be fair.
Out of the 8 weeks, if you want to look at their schedule.
I will say out of the 8 weeks, without even looking at the schedule, go ahead and maybe I'll change my tune after you rattle it off. But if they have 8 games in the league, 6 running clocks.
Okay. Macomb, week 3. Riverdale.
Where's the Macomb game at?
Macomb game is at LB.
Oh, that could be a running clock.
Riverdale, running clock.
Yep.
Elmwood, running clock.
Yep.
Arlington, maybe just because of the way the Red Devils play. Possessions. We were talking to one of the LB assistants after the game, and he said, "Yeah, we got 4 or 5 possessions a year ago in that game." Pandora Gilboa,
which
beat Columbus
going to show up?
Which beat Columbus Grove. Leipsic maybe can keep it competitive, and then they have Arcadia and Van Buren. I say at a minimum 6, and I'm leaning heavily towards 7.
Yep. I don't know if Leipsic can even keep them from a running clock. Leipsic was getting beat by Van Buren in that game and had to turn it on late.
Maybe the Vikings can't either. I don't know, but the BVC could maybe put an all-star team together and from the on the other teams and not beat Liberty-Benton.
Lynn,
Just stew on that. Just stew on that as we go through the season. I'm wondering.
That's like something I'd come up with.
Can an all-star team from that conference have a chance? I'm not saying beat them, but even make it competitive. I'm not sure.
The answer
because you're going to have some pretty darn good linemen.
Yeah, and there's not enough other linemen in the league. You could take all the best linemen from the rest of the league. This is no disrespect. This is praise on Liberty-Benton. You could take all the best linemen from the rest of the league and not put a line together that would top Liberty-Benton's.
Yeah.
That's actually a great way to look at it.
LB is not as deep as Liberty Center. That's maybe the one caveat here. Can they stay healthy these next 8 weeks? And then can they stay healthy for, it's probably going to be a regional final, week 14, maybe a regional semi, depending on how the seeding goes. I don't know how many points Liberty-Benton's going to get because OG's 0-2, Columbus Grove is 0-2, the two non-league games that they played. That would have been big if OG could have knocked off Defiance last night for LB as far as the playoff picture goes.
Mm-hmm.
Will they have enough computer points to be in the top 2?
That's a fair question.
And you would get, and if it's a regional semifinal, it would be played at the higher seed, which is likely going to be Liberty Center. I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but
I know.
It's still fun to talk about, but it would probably be a game at Rex Lindgren Stadium because Liberty Center would host. That would add to the challenge.
Oh, it would add to it. And if you're Liberty-Benton, you don't want that.
Right.
You don't want to come in here and see Liberty-Benton's good enough to overcome even a couple injuries to get to that point. But in order to beat Liberty Center, for those that haven't seen Seth Elkert, he's a generational talent. He reminds me, I was fortunate to coach Jordan Loff back in 2012, long and rangy.
6'3", 195.
Yeah, he's special. He's a game changer. You can't match up with him. He's going to demand 2 guys. It doesn't matter who you are. You've got to have a corner and a safety dedicated to him. And so if a guy like him, heaven forbid, would get banged up, that changes Liberty-Benton drastically. Now, their defense is still going to be good, but I don't know if they'd have enough offense.
Yeah, if Liberty-Benton can stay healthy, love to see that game against Liberty Center in the Region 18 playoffs.
I would too. And I know there's some folks watching and listening that are going, holy cow, tap the brakes on this LB thing. I felt the same when we saw Oak Harbor. It's one of those things, if you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain makeup. There's a certain makeup of a team that has to be a certain way.
Yeah.
And Oak Harbor had it. They competed with Liberty Center. Liberty-Benton's got that.
Yeah. They're different than a year ago.
They're much different.
And I think after, Columbus Grove had that jet sweep on 3rd and 9, they picked up the first down on their first drive.
Yep.
But outside of that, you watch the first 2 plays and what CJ Barbara did in the backfield and Granger and that crew and the linebackers. You're like, oh, that'll be a long night for you. Kind of knew right then
what he did
because Columbus Grove couldn't move those guys.
No, and they weren't gonna. They weren't gonna. And it's a helpless feeling as a coach because I've been there. You're just throwing things and hoping they stick. It just is.
Right. Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot that Columbus Grove could do. Let's talk about Columbus Grove for a little bit. 0-2, going to Patrick Henry, lost to Pandora Gilboa, had a lot of mistakes, 10 penalties, 3 turnovers, maybe shot themselves in the foot in that game if you talk to Grove people. Still a loss, though. Mm-hmm. And then last night, it was a major challenge against a very good Liberty-Benton team. This is not the Columbus Grove team of the past. They don't have the same type of players.
No.
Where does Columbus Grove go? And what's their focus this week?
Yep.
Because this is a Patrick Henry team that's similar to Liberty-Benton in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
Not much of a difference.
Yep. I would I would say this, Lynn. Number one, back to the basics for Columbus Grove. And the old cliche, I think it's all about Columbus Grove this week. It's all about Columbus Grove. I know Liberty-Benton, scored some points last night, but some of that was just throwing it deep to Seth Elkert and him running and getting it. PH doesn't have that guy. Most teams don't have Seth Elkert. So their defense, my point is their defense is fine. I think their defense is fine. They're great tacklers. Their linebackers are aggressive. I love their secondary, from their alignment to their scheme and the way they come up and support the run. Grove is fine defensively. Everything, the whole rest of the season for Grove is going to hinge on their ability to find a way to run the football, because everything else they want to do. See, a year ago, they weren't some dynamic offense, but everything else looked better because of their ability to run the ball and control the ball. So then they could throw and do things when they wanted to. Now they're having to throw because they have to. There's a vast, vast difference. And so they've got to get better up front in terms of their execution, or they're going to struggle scoring points all year. It's got to start with their run game, because everything else spawns off that.
Do they have to go to a little more of a passing attack, quick passing? We saw that a little bit more in the second half last night against Liberty-Benton. Now, maybe Liberty-Benton wasn't playing the same style of defense they were early in that game, but are they going to have to rely on the pass a little bit more than what they're used to?
So, couple things.
Or does the game dictate maybe the score too?
Mm-hmm. Couple things. Great question, Lynn. Great questions. Landon Best doesn't get enough credit for the thrower he is, because he hasn't had to be a thrower. He's just had to be efficient.
Right.
Doesn't get enough credit. Very capable thrower. What I see is they maybe, and again, Coach Schaefer's, they're so good as a staff. I'm just saying, from my experiences, I would like to see them find a few more variations of ways to run the football. I'm not saying they have to go to a full house T backfield, but
they got a hammer and Brady Basinger, their H-back.
They do. And so now I'm going to my conservative self here. Okay. I would love to see Basinger at halfback. I'm not saying they got to go full wing T, but I'd like to see some sets where Landon Best is under center, Basinger's at fullback, McClure, the talented sophomores, maybe at halfback. You have a wing back, and maybe have more options in terms of misdirection and things like that. And
They did run a crisscross play, I believe, in the second half.
They did. And here's the thing. When your running game starts from the pistol or the gun, okay, you're snapping the ball back 5 yards, and so it gives more time for penetration and things like that. When you have a young line that's maybe outsized, which they were last night, you want to be able to hit quick. And it's hard to hit quick in the running game when you're in the pistol. We ran the pistol wing T one year, Lynn. It was still a lot of our same plays, but we ran it out of the pistol for a variety of reasons. I thought it was best. And then what I found is it took so much longer to develop. And you might say, well, they did it last year. They did it the year before. Well, it was different because of their alignment. And so I think you could take a lot of heat off of their young line if things hit a little bit quicker offensively in the run game.
Yeah, their runs last night, it was a defensive lineman from Liberty-Benton was almost immediately there to meet the ball carrier.
They were, and I've never liked it when coaches from week to week have a new offense every week, and you can't do that. But I think going forward, if Grove, maybe each week you add a formation, you add a wrinkle. Something like that, because they're going to need more offense, and it can't be Landon Best throwing. If Landon Best has to throw it 20 plus times a game, they're going to struggle offensively. Everything's got to start with their run, and it's going to be tough to get that going this week.
Yeah, another challenge for the Bulldogs at Big Red Stadium and Patrick Henry. Leipsic 34-28 over Van Buren at home last night. Rallied by the Black Knights with 26 points in the fourth quarter after the Black Knights took a 13-8 lead in the final stanza. The Vikings scored the points in a stretch of 9:30 mark to the 4:05 mark. I don't know if these stats are right. Maybe it was a stat issue, but that's what the stats said. Scored all those points in that was that 5:25 stretch, if the stats that we got are correct from a night ago. Aaron Hazelton had a huge night catching passes from Mark Kirkendall, who threw for 273 yards and 3 scores. Hazelton had 7 grabs for 168 yards and a score, but Leipsic squeaks by Van Buren in that matchup a night ago.
Yep. Congratulations to the Leipsic Vikings. Lynn, I would like to see Mark Kirkendall play.
Yeah,
I would like
to. Yeah, just a sophomore.
Yeah, I'd love to see him play.
Mhm.
I haven't seen him play. I haven't seen many clips. Leipzig's one of those programs. They're not, some programs are big social media programs.
Yeah, you can't find nothing on Leipsic.
Hashtag programs, as a good friend calls them. Leipzig's not that. And that's how Joe Kirkendall wants it.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find out certain things about Leipsic. But Mark Kirkendall, man, he's put up some numbers, and I'd love to see the young man play.
Yeah, they have some offensive talent there at Leipsic this season. Do the Vikings? Northwood 56-42 victory over Lake. Only stats I have for you is Julian Rodriguez 254 yards and 3 rushing scores for the Flyers, but they fell for the second straight week. Ooh, defense is a struggle right now for Lake, giving up 56 last night to Northwood. Spencerville 25-21 over Wayne Trace. The Bearcats rallied from a 21-13 deficit entering the fourth stanza. Grady Smith scored the game-winning touchdown with 36 seconds left from 5 yards out on a run. Jake Schoenauer and Clay Stoller hooked up on touchdown passes for all of the Raiders' points in that one. Couple more recaps for you. Genoa 56-7 over Bowser. The Comets bounced back from that loss to Archbold last week. Luke Clement 153 yards and 4 touchdowns on 18 carries for Genoa. Ooh, how about the Woodmore Wildcats? Is Woodmore back?
They're trending.
We were just discussing this.
Yeah.
290-yard rushing night from Landon Rich as they put a smackdown on the Locos at Montpelier last night. 48-6.
I thought, Lynn, that was what we like to call a coin toss game. Seriously.
Oh, my goodness.
In fact, I teetered on, I thought maybe Montpelier would get them.
Yeah. I wonder too. Boy.
Yeah. I don't know, as we always say, who's this say more about? I'm going to say it says a little more about Woodmore because Montpelier has some really good seniors.
Got that running game going, do the Wildcats.
Yeah.
North Baltimore picked up a 48-8 victory over Hardin Northern. First time that North Baltimore has started a season 2-0 in 10 years. Greg Bishop returns to North Baltimore and 2-0 for the first time in 10 years.
You know what's funny about that? Again, like the Woodmore Montpelier game, and we pick these games in our podcast. This one, I think we ended up picking North Baltimore.
Yeah.
I was leaning Hardin Northern possibly. And now I look at this score and I'm like, you idiot. What were you thinking?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you may have some Pete Bruno in your mind still from your days of coaching against him at Hardin Northern.
That's my biggest enemy, Lynn. I get something in my head from
well, you
20
took some
years
beatings
ago.
from Hardin Northern.
No.
That's hard to get out of your system, right?
God. Pete Bruno and his assistant coach,
Wow.
Mike Dennis, and Coach Pease. The funny thing about Pete Bruno's teams, I won't go down this rabbit hole, I promise. But one funny thing is you play Hardin Northern, and they're on the verge of winning state championships. They were always in the regional final. And it was like an episode of Coach where you had Hayden Fox, Luther, and Dauber. and I always watch that, and I'm like, this is a college football program. They only have 3 coaches.
They really only had 3 coaches
that you ever saw in the episodes. And I'm sure there were some assistants that,
yeah. Oh, you're talking coach. Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking to movie coach.
Yeah.
But when you'd see Hardin Northern, that's like all you saw. You saw Pete Bruno, Mike Dennis, Coach Pease, and then, maybe like a school employee that, you know, did some cleaning at
the
night.
Coach Pease, is he any relation to the Finley Pease?
Oh yeah, I think they're all interconnected.
That's now with the Falcons.
Yeah. Dean
was that
Dean
Coach
Pease?
Finley High School?
Yep, those
A
guys
few
are
years ago.
all interconnected.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all interconnected. And I have a really good friend, former college teammate from Bluffton, Bob Bame, who was a stud at Hardin Northern that played with
I remember that name.
Pease boys. He would, and if I'll maybe reach out to him and find that connection. But Hardin Northern, it was unbelievable what they were able to accomplish. And they have a legendary coach there now, Jerry Cooper.
Yeah.
So North Baltimore, weren't those guys a treat when they were here for the kickoff show?
They were. Yeah. If you want to do some research when you're free, look up Pete Bruno. W at the end, right?
Brunow.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
Yep.
You think you can't win with 25 kids?
You can. It's fascinating. It's fascinating.
And he could have won. He won one in 2004, lost in 2002 state championship to Mogador, but he could have won 5.
Yep.
There's a couple years where St. Henry got him, but he went toe to toe with Marian Local when Tim Goodwin had it rolling in the beginning. Tim Beckman and St. Henry a couple times there in the 90s and state semifinals.
Beat Columbus Grove.
Yeah.
In a deep tournament game.
Yeah. Yes. Oh boy.
It's really fun to dive into. And Lynn, you and I went down this rabbit hole a few days ago, you know, messaging each other and stuff.
I would love to just dig into what Pete Bruno did with that program to win with. They never had more than 30 kids.
No. There were times where when they had their 11 guys on the field, there were 11 on the sideline. And I always joke about this. After the game, I'd say, "Hey, Pete, are you guys going to be able to play JV tomorrow?" And he'd go, "Yeah, why wouldn't we?" Well, you only need 11.
That's what he would say.
He would say that, and they'd march in to a JV game, and now sometimes you'd get them maybe at the JV level, and so then you start thinking, okay, they're going to be down here in a year or two because they have a bunch of seniors in their JVs aren't very good. And lo and behold, they win the league the next year, and you're going, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. He had the magic pill, man.
Yeah, that's quite a fascinating program and story. Would love to hear how they did it.
Yeah.
How did you do it?
Yeah. He's we'll talk about this later. I would love to get Pete Bruno or some people connected to him. His sons, Clay and Corey Bruno, I got to know. If we could maybe wrangle them up and have them as part of one of our productions.
Yeah.
Because Pete, here's the thing, and people that know him, if they're listening to this, they're going, that ain't going to be much of an interview. You talk about a no-frills guy. Pete Bruno makes Bob Olwyn look like Rodney Dangerfield. It is unbelievable how humble and unassuming he is.
Really?
No, I've never seen anything like it. I've got a stat for you, Lynn, that before you wrap things up here with the last.
Yeah.
So Rossford last night, the Rossford Bulldogs, they won 33-7 over Wait. Okay, that's not my point. But head coach Todd Drewsbach, we've talked about him many times. You got to know him at the Northwest Ohio Clinic.
Yeah.
One of our favorite guys, Todd Drewsbach. His son Jackson Drewsbach last night at Rossford, a stat I came across, I thought bared mentioning. Jackson Drewsbach last night for Rossford, 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns, and 3 interceptions on defense.
Whoa.
That's a night's work, buddy.
Yeah, it is.
So,
my goodness.
And then I think he threw for like 180 yards last week. They lost. Maybe it was Northwood or whoever in the opener.
Yeah.
But keep an eye on Jackson Drewsbach.
Yeah.
He's young too. He's young. And 2 rushing, 2 passing, 3 interceptions for Jackson Drewsbach. His dad was a stud at Fremont St. Joe too.
Yes, he was. Rounding out some scores from a night ago. Wapakoneta 24-7 over Salina in the Western Buckeye League. Lima Bath puts up 56 on St. Mary's in a 56-36 victory there. Lima Shawnee 37, Kenton 6. A little bit of a surprising score.
Yes.
Bluffton all over Pandora Gilboa 48-14. Huron 48. Elmwood 12. Went through the max scores earlier. Bishop Dwenger and Fort Wayne 31-15 victory over St. Francis. Olentangy 28-0 over Perrysburg. Findlay knocked off Lima Senior 17-7. Springfield, Sam Arredondo, another impressive victory 44-10 over Northview. And Fremont Ross all over Sandusky 48-14. There are some games tonight. Edgerton at Hilltop, Antwerp at Eden, LCC at Delphus St. John's, and Macomb will play Toledo Christian in Saturday evening action.
Well,
Chip Hulbert has a question for us.
Yep.
Does 3 Michigan schools in the TAC now hurt Ohio teams in computer points?
no, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think
I
so.
would agree with that.
Yeah, they'll just they'll adjust obviously the division up there. They'll just adjust the enrollment to what it would be if it were an Ohio school.
Right,
So
right.
no, I actually like that. I think that move maybe saved the TAC.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. I like that.
So-
Yeah, I think they had to add some teams. It's been discussed for a while. Grove 3-7. That's a question being posed. No. I think they'll get at least 5 wins.
Yep, zero chance. I think it's a fair question because
Yeah.
there were some Grove fans walking out of the stadium. A little.
No, they're not going to see Bluffton possibly.
Yep.
Is on the level of the teams they're going to see kind of here these first 3 weeks, but I think they'll be fine in the NWC and they'll get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think Columbus Grove will be a playoff team, and there's some wins out there. Now it's not going to be as pretty and maybe as fun to watch,
Right.
as other years, but they still have enough of a nucleus with Basinger and Baxter and Best and Young Barraza. They're going to be okay.
Yeah. Chip Hulbert wants to know if he can get one of these coffee mugs. Yep. Chipper, I will get you the info on how you can get one of those.
Chipper,
I
we'll
can
make
help
it
you out
happen,
there.
buddy.
Yeah. Hopefully I didn't miss any other scores or comments from anybody that have questions out there, but I think we've caught up.
One thing, Lynn, based on your last rundown there, Perrysburg going toe-to-toe with Olentangy should raise some eyebrows.
Yeah.
That's an Olentangy team that beat Liberty week 1, Olentangy Liberty, right?
Right.
Defending state champs. So I think that I know they lost, but that's a good
Kept
sign.
it close.
Yeah, they did. And that's obviously not going to be good enough for Dirk Connor, but and then Bluffton, what they did to Pandora Gilboa.
Have any stats from that Perrysburg game last night? Let me make sure they didn't roll in here a little bit later than normal.
Yeah, let me check.
Got some St. Francis stats in their loss at Bishop Dwayne. Let's see if I can pull those up, give you some team stats as best I can as I look through this real quick.
Lynn, you're pretty good at deciphering that because
Rocco Pillarelli, 79 yards rushing on 20 carries. Eli Beal, 66 yards, actually 61. He lost some yards. Rocco Pillarelli, 63 yards as you take away the lost yardage there. Jaden Houston, 9 catches, 188 yards, and 2 TDs for St. Francis. He was a bright spot for the Knights in that game. Jeff Schliessman, our good friend, I think he made the trek over to Fort Wayne last night for that game. Team stats. Let me see what I can find here. Nothing too crazy as far as team stats go. Looks like Bishop Dwenger only had 182 yards of total offense, actually 162. St. Francis 324.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny. I mentioned a week or two ago, I met some Bishop Dwenger parents this summer.
Okay.
When I was in Fort Wayne, they both have sophomore sons on the Dwenger team, and they were talking about they were looking forward to playing St. Francis from Toledo, Ohio, and they told me, and I remember this well because I made a mental note. They said they were going to play them though down in Cincinnati, like at Cincinnati Moeller. And I remember thinking, that's interesting, as a part of a kickoff classic type thing at the beginning of the season. And then I see a couple photos from the game, and they were at Dwenger.
Yeah, that was at Fort Wayne.
So I would love to know if maybe originally it was discussed to play down there, if something changed.
Not playing Frank Santos the Sales of Columbus down there, are they?
Right.
Possibly is Dwenger.
Okay, maybe
that's
could,
what they
could
were.
look at that.
Maybe that's what they were thinking. I don't know.
Or maybe I just didn't get enough sleep the night before, and I was hallucinating.
Maybe you're just making that up.
And that's happened before.
Well, Jeff Sleesman will correct us, because I know he was there last night. He picks a good game to go to each week. We'll see where Jeff is in week 3. I'm sure he'll pick out. He may be at Central Catholic, with Detroit Catholic Central in town.
That would be my bet. If Columbus Grove was 2-0 right now, I bet he'd be at Hamler.
Probably. Yeah.
know.
Good point. College football kicks off today. Any comments, insight? It's a pretty good weekend for college football. Texas, Ohio State, LSU plays Clemson in a matchup. Alabama goes to Florida State.
Yep.
Today.
Boy, can Florida State bounce back?
Oh, we'll find out.
They went from missing the playoffs.
Find out. See some other games that I'm missing as we look at the week 1 schedule.
Let me ask you this question, Lynn.
Toledo's at Kentucky. Can the Rockets pull the upset? They're 9.5-point underdogs. Is Toledo?
Every single Blade sports writer has Toledo winning this thing.
They do.
I mean, I'm telling you, like, they think it's a foregone conclusion.
Huh.
And because, they went down there and boat raced Mississippi State last year.
Yeah.
I get that. But just because, I'm telling you, Kentucky will be a handful for Toledo.
Yeah.
And I got one for you, Lynn. If you were a betting man, and I know you're not, nor am I, if you were a betting man and Scott Barrett, I always keep an eye on the Purdue Boilermakers.
Oh, yeah.
Scotty Barrett.
Purdue. Yeah.
Boiler up, Scott. And so Purdue is a 17-point favorite today at home against Ball State. If you were a betting man, would you say Ball State covers, or do you think Purdue?
Not real educated on. Does Purdue have a new coach this year?
His second year, I think.
Purdue was pretty unimpressive a year ago. I don't know much about Ball State.
I saw Ball State at week 12 last year against Bowling Green. They struggled, but they have a brand new head coach, a really good head coach that came from a 1AA, maybe Butler or something. So Ball State's going to be
I think
improved.
Ball State covers.
I agree.
I think
I wanted to see
wonder
what
if Scotty
you said.
Barrett's going to that game. He may be there.
He may be. He likes going to Ross Aid Stadium.
Yes, yeah. Here's one. Montana State is at Oregon today. Keep an eye on that one. Montana State will keep that close.
Yes.
They're a good, 1AA or whatever.
Yeah, now it's FCS or FBS.
I can't keep track of.
I can't either. It's
all
always 1AA to me.
Yeah.
Here's one for you. Kent State went winless last year.
Mm-hmm.
Even to their 1AA opponent, they went winless. They play Merrimack today at home. They play Merrimack today at home. They're a 5.5-point favorite. And I'm gonna go out on a limb and tell you this. If Kent State loses to Merrimack, they're gonna go 0-12 again.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why. Their paycheck games, those paycheck games, MAC teams always play a couple big dogs. Toledo never does. But Toledo will play somebody that's on the verge of they'll play like a Pitt. Toledo's never going to play in Alabama, you know what I mean? But Kent State will go down and play Alabama for $1.2 million.
Yeah, Toledo's got Kentucky kind of that.
Yeah, on the fringe,
yeah.
But not Georgia.
Not crazy good.
No. So Kent State has 3, I think, paycheck games after this Merrimack game, and they are big dogs, heavyweights. So they're going to be so beat up in the name of raising money for the athletic department. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Who you got in Texas, Ohio State?
You know what, Lynn? I hate people that are homers. I don't hate them. I hate it when people are homers. And Buckeye fans, Buckeyes go. They're home. That helps. But I'll tell you what's it mean to be home at Ohio State other than a historic stadium? Because the fans are pretty lackluster. They're more of a wine and cheese crowd. And I'm one of them. But they do. They sit on their hands and they're in their suites and loges and things like that. And where you go to some places and they're rabid,
Mm-hmm.
Buckeyes aren't that. Jeremiah Smith obviously is the man. I think Julian Sayin against Arch Manning. The two guys, now Manning's gotten more hype than any quarterback that hasn't played a full season than anyone in the whole world. Julian Sayin was a 5-star that committed to Alabama.
Right.
So those two locking horns.
Yep.
If I had to bet on that, I wouldn't even know who to bet on. You'd probably take maybe Ohio State at home.
State's 1.5 point favorite.
Okay, 1.5 point favorite. I'd say you'd have to bet on Ohio State at home. A lot of people like Texas, though. A lot of people like Texas. How about, a noon kickoff to get things going in earnest, as you'd say?
Yeah.
Will you be tuned into that?
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah. I'm pretty sure my wife will want to watch that, being a Buckeye fan.
True. Yeah, that one, that's a dandy. And then the LSU Clemson game's interesting. I think that's at Clemson. And the reason I say it's interesting is because Brian Kelly, right? They're paying him $10 million or whatever a year, and he left Notre Dame because he wanted to be able to compete for championships.
Yep.
Well, Notre Dame has competed for LSU hasn't under him.
Notre Dame, Miami, right?
Notre Dame, Miami
Tomorrow. Yeah.
So
that was another one that I was thinking of.
If Chip Kelly doesn't get it done, or Chip Kelly, Brian Kelly. If Brian Kelly
had half of it right.
Yeah. If Brian Kelly doesn't get it done at Clemson, man, his seat's going to be warm already.
Yeah. Bill Belichick gets underway Monday night, 8:00 against TCU.
Okay.
And Columbus Grove kicker Reese Verhoff kicking for
North Carolina.
Coach Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels. That'll be in Chapel Hill on Monday night at 8:00. Another one that I'll tune into just because of Reese.
Yeah, Reese.
He's got some good parents.
Yep, they're great parents. Great parents.
Reese and Tanya, they're great. Looking forward to following him this season.
Mm-hmm.
I got a brisket on the smoker, Coach. I can't waste any more time. I got to get ready for college football.
I got to decide what I'm going to do.
Do you know what you're going to have?
Well,
or do you have some options? What are your options?
Well,
Are you going to go out there and look?
I have options, and it's going to be some sort of ribeye. Okay, it's going to be a ribeye. It's too late for me to throw something on the smoker. It's going to be some sort of ribeye, and since the Buckeyes start at noon, I'll settle in for that one, and it's going to be Cinda going somewhere to get me what I want.
You're going to make Cinda go get?
She's going to get what I want.
Is she home though, or is she shopping?
She's home. She's home. She better be doing dishes, because when I got rolled in from Columbus Grove last night, the kitchen counter, I couldn't find any place to set anything. So I don't care about laundry as much, but when I can't find a clean fork, dude, I get a little worked up. She's going to kill me for saying that.
You're going to be in big trouble if she's listening.
And there's a chance she is.
You can't say that. You can't say that.
Well, hopefully it'll motivate her to do it.
You may have to go to Sattler's. I think they're open till noon on Saturdays. You could go over there and you could get your own ribeye. And then Cinda doesn't have to.
That's true. I like it when she picks them out, though.
But what are you going to do for dinner? Is that your lunch or is that your dinner?
That'll be a late lunch, early dinner.
But what are you going to have for the 8:00 games tonight?
Snack. I'll snack.
What's the snack going to be? Or something Cinda picks up for you?
Good question. I like her picking up my steaks, and I always tell her this because I'm so indecisive. I'll sit there and compare a couple of tomahawks or whatever kind of ribeye. I'll sit there for 10 minutes looking at the marbling. This one's a little thicker. This one's better marbled. This one. And so when she gets it, I don't even know what the options are. So it makes it easier. So I'll send her. She may not go, though, after I called her out on the dishes, but I hope it motivates her to do it. Sometimes as a coach, you got to say some harsh things. So,
well, hopefully you can get in the door when you get home. If not, just come to my house, Coach. Yeah. You're welcome.
I might anyway, because I could drive down 110 right now and I bet smell it.
Yeah, you could. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you to Swanton Welding for sponsoring Rise and Rewind on Saturday morning. We'll be back next Saturday, 9 a.m., I think, again, is what we're going to shoot for. Tuesday will be our podcast and our football show presented by KK Collision. That will be Travis Cooper, former Defiance coach. He's working on a little bit of a online book that you can get if you're a coach to help you get your program rolling. Looking forward to that. Stay tuned on Tuesday for that. Have a great weekend. Enjoy college football on this great fall-like weather. We will talk to you again next week.